Hello and welcome to episode 265 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is February 24th, 2025. And today I'm wearing things that are so old that they don't have a Ravelry page. But I'll start with the shawl that I'm wearing. That's a pattern that's supposed to be knit in lace weight yarn, and I did that the first 3 times I knit the pattern. I used a lace weight yarn and I had 5 pattern repeats next to each other, and those were very light and very beautiful shawls. And by the time I had knit 3 of them, I finally knew the pattern by heart. And then I was curious to see what the pattern would look like if you used a bit thicker yarn. So this is the Soft Merino by Wolle, which is a pure merino yarn that runs 100 meters for 50 grams. And the recommended needle size is 4 to 5 millimeter. I'm not quite sure whether I used a 5 millimeter needle or a bigger one. And the lace pattern is a true lace pattern. So you knit patterning on all the rows. So there's no like easy row where you just purl back or knit back, but you have yarn overs and decreases in every row. And that makes for this really open work lace pattern. And because the yarn is bigger, I only did 3 pattern repeats to get the same width as 5 pattern repeats for the thin yarn. And I made it fairly, not very long, but long enough. And I really, really like this shawl. And excuse me, some time ago, a friend asked me if I'd ever worn this on my YouTube video. And I said, of course I have. So this is already the 3rd time I'm showing it on my videos. But the other 2 times are quite some time ago. So I thought it's time to show it again. Yeah, really like it. And I thought it goes really nicely with this sort of color work pullover. That was also back, I also knit that when I still worked at Wolle. And the pattern was from their magazine. But in their magazine, it was a cardigan that you had to knit to and fro because sticking was not really a thing back then. But I asked if I could make a pullover out of it because it wasn't one of the projects that we had to knit for the window shop window display. So with the other projects, there was a bit more freedom. So my boss said it's okay to make it a pullover instead of a cardigan. And that's what I did. The colors were the same, I think, as in the magazine. I really enjoy this. And then together with the cardigan, there was also a skirt in the magazine, and I also knit the skirt. So I am going to step on my chair again. And that was the pattern for the skirt. It's a fairly simple pattern. There are some, I think there were decreases. I think there was knit bottom up. Yeah, very simple skirt up here, but I really like the color work. And what I also thought was interesting, it starts off with this ribbing, but after you finish the ribbing, you decrease a whole lot of stitches so that that doesn't pull in, but it's almost a bit wider than the rest. And I really like that for the lower bit of a skirt. And just for fun today, I'm going to show you the socks that I'm wearing. It's something I usually don't do. But today they really go nicely with the rest of my outfit. So it's the same kind of pink as my shawl and my shirt. And it's Sockmadness time again. And these are a Sockmadness pattern. The pattern was called Little Etude. And you had a little ball of yarn for all these contrasting colors. And it was a lot of fun to knit. And I thought just for fun today, I also show you the socks that I'm wearing. If I remember, I'll link the socks underneath the video because I can't link the rest of my outfit. Yeah, so did I say the pullover and the skirt were knit from Sienna, which is a pure merino yarn, which is a bit thinner than the soft merino. It's, I think, 125 meters per 50 grams. Yeah, and the socks were knit out of Opal sock yarn. The main color was, I think it was the Opal subscription colorway. And then the dark gray and the light pink was just some single color sock yarn. Not quite sure what I used there. Yeah, so much to what I'm wearing. Then on to finished objects. I have 2 finished objects and 2 new cast-ons, so it's staying even. But I have fewer projects than usual. Just saying Sockmadness. But anyway, let's start with the finished objects. So the first finished object is the hat, Big and Light. It's the new alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm, where you have 80% alpaca, 20% polyamide. And it's this, they have like a very thin tube made of nylon or polyamide, and then the alpaca threads are blown into it, so it's not really spun, and it makes the yarn really soft, and it gives it a lot of yardage. So it runs 130 meters for 50 grams with the recommended needle size of 5 to 8 millimeters, which is quite big. I used 4.5 millimeters for the beginning of the hat and then changed to a 5 millimeter needle. I used a different needle size for the last of the decreases because I just used some double pointed needles that were lying around. I'm not quite sure what size they were, but that doesn't really matter. So the whole hat is 50 grams. So you get a lot of hat out of just 50 grams. So this is how long the hat is. And you can wear it with it folded up once, the way I showed it before. But it's also possible to fold it up twice. And then the folded brim is a bit smaller, but it's warmer because it's a double layer brim. So different ways that you can wear this hat. And it's so soft and so nice. And I'm really happy to finish that. Not happy that it will stay in the shop, so I can't wear it a lot. But I may just knit another one sometime soon. So that's the first finished object. And the second finished object is the Cowl Make It Quick by Stephanie Lotvin, knit out of another alpaca yarn. So the bulky alpaca yarn is a pure alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm. The dark blue is the bulky yarn. And the contrasting colors, I used the DK weight yarn by Hansa Farm, held double, so that I could use the same number of stitches in the same needle. And last time I showed you the triangle that you start knitting to and fro, and then you close it to knit in the round. So the last part of the cowl is knit in the round. So it knits up really quickly. You keep increasing in the front, and then you get this nice little cowl that keeps your neck warm, keeps your chest warm. And I think I should be wearing this next week. No idea what to wear it with yet, but I'll find something that it goes with, and then I can wear this next week. I haven't washed it yet. I will wash it. I probably won't really block it. Probably just lay it flat to dry. She recommends to block it like this. But as there is no lace pattern and no color work pattern or anything, I just lay it flat and let it dry, and then wear it next week. Anything else? Oh yeah, the pattern said you need 97 meters of the main color, and I had 2 balls of the bulky yarn, so that was 100 meters, and I had a tiny bit left. So I probably used exactly like 97 or maybe 98 meters of yarn, which was quite interesting. I had half a ball, I think, of all the contrasting colors. So if you did them in the same color, you'd only need 2 balls of yarn instead of 3. If you did it all in the same, you could do 2 stripes in one color and 1 stripe in another color, and then you'd only have 2 balls. But all 3 colors together is more than 50 meters, more than 50 grams. So yeah, you could do the whole thing in one color, and then yeah, you'd still end up using 3.5 balls of yarn. Yeah, so anyway, not much to say about that, except for it really works up quickly, like the name says, make it quick. And we're really happy with how that came out. So on to works in progress. As usual, I'll start with the socks. I'll start with the old sock that I have on my needle. That's the Rainforest colorway sock that I'm knitting for a friend, and I'm using the 4-ply yarn for most of the sock. I knit the heel out of 6-ply yarn in the same colorway, Didn't work a lot on this sock. It only grew a few centimeters, but at least a little bit so I could show it. Still a very nice portable project. So I hope to get a bit more done this week, but we'll see. I'm not in a hurry to finish these. So yeah. But the next project I actually am in a hurry to finish, and that's my qualification socks for the Sockmadness 2025. And I explained about the pattern and the colorway I was using last week. And as promised, I started the sock last Monday, and I could have finished it, but I didn't really want to finish it. And I'll show you why. So as I said, the first sock, you knit toe up. So I started the sock at the toe, cast on some stitches, did the increases, then you knit the foot in a knit to purl to pattern on top, and in stockinette for the sole, we have to put in this marker thread to show off every 5 rounds that we knit. And then you started doing the increases for the gusset part, then you did the heel turn and the heel flap, and then we started knitting the cable pattern. So it's not a very complicated cable, it's just a little more complicated than with the socks that I did for my knit along. And then once you finish the pattern, you do a bit of ribbing for the cuff, and then there are a few rounds of just knitting. It's a bit hard to see, and then you have to mark one stitch, and this is the stitch where we later will cut the whole thing apart. And then you do another bit of ribbing, and then you do the same cable pattern again, but you have to read the chart top down or turn it around or whatever and do the cables the different way. And then you do the heel flap, you pick up the stitches for the gusset, you do the gusset, you do the heel turn, then you pick up stitches, you do the gusset decreases, and then you knit the foot top down again with the knit to purl to pattern. And I did not do the toe, because if I had knitted the toe, I wouldn't have been able to put the sock blockers in, because as soon as you finish the toe, the whole thing is closed and you can't put the blockers in anymore, unless you leave them in and you knit the toe, or you put them in before you sew the toe together. I don't know. I just wanted to be able to show you this, to show you both the socks still connected and with sock blockers in them. And that's why I did not finish the second toe. I really enjoyed knitting this. I have to say, while you knit the second sock, it's a bit unusual to have so much stuff hanging down. You have to keep turning that around. But on the other hand, because one sock is knit toe up and the other one is a knit cuff down, it feels like knitting a different sock, and it's not... I didn't have the feeling of repeating the whole thing again. It's as if I was knitting a new sock, and I really enjoyed that. So I don't really enjoy having to repeat the same thing again. So I do try to cast on the second sock as soon as I finish the first one to not get second sock syndrome. But sometimes it can get a bit tiring to do the same thing again. And to get the feeling of doing things differently with the second sock, it just makes it a bit more exciting for me. So I really enjoyed this. I can very easily imagine knitting socks like this again, probably not with the same cable pattern, but just to have two socks hanging off of each other, I think is so funny. And to be able to knit two socks that look the same, but knit them in a different way, really appeals to me a lot. So the first thing I will have to do as soon as I finish work is to finish the toe and take the pictures and, of course, cut it apart, cast off the stitches. By the way, once I knit this apart, I catch the stitches for both the socks, and then I have to cast them both off, and I have to use a contrast color. So I will have to dive into my leftover yarns and find a nice contrasting color to do the bind off for both the socks. And then I take the rest of the pictures and send the email so that I hopefully qualify for a team again this year for the Sockmadness. So that's that. That's it for socks for now. Then the other project that's time sensitive is the February gnome. So I had sort of hoped to finish the gnome last week, but I was working too much on the Sockmadness sock. And then another thing happened. Last week I showed you the hat for my February gnome. And then I remember packing things up after I finished recording, and I put the hat with some other project. And then for several days I couldn't find it. And of course I didn't need it to start the body for the gnome. But somehow, without knowing where the hat was, I wasn't motivated to start the body. But then I finally found the hat and I started knitting the body. So I decided to do a blue body for this gnome. And then last night, I couldn't find the hat again. So I had to search around a bit. I finally found it, and that's what I did now. I put it behind the ball band of the yarn I'm using for the body, so now I can't lose it. So this is the hat of mini Gnock, and the body is knit separately because what we do is we knit the body and then we fill the body with stuffing, and then we just put the hat onto the body and then add the beard, the nose, the legs, and the feet and the socks, especially the socks. So because this is the last week of February, I have to finish this week. So this week, first thing to do is finish the Sockmadness sock. Second thing to do is finish the gnome, and then see how much time I have to work on the other projects. I think that's all I needed to say about the gnome. Yeah, it's the year of gnomes again, so that's why I'm trying to knit a gnome every month. And the only rule that applies is that you start with a Sarah Shira gnome pattern. You can then change things if you want. And the other rule is to start and finish the gnome within the month that you want to take part. So I started it this month, and that's why I have to finish it quickly. So that's that. That already brings me to the to my garments, because somehow I have nothing in between. And I continued knitting on my Advent calendar pullover. And that's where I knit all the 20-gram colorful mini balls of yarn that I got in my Advent calendar. And I started with one sleeve. That was knit straight. Then I cast on stitches for the front and back, and I knit very long rows over the shoulder. I seamed the front and back together with the neon yellow, and then I finished the first front or back. So there's no difference between the front and back. So I ran out of yarn with this ball before I knit the same number of rows that I did for this 20 grams. So it's supposed to be all 20 grams, but not all 20-gram balls are created equally. So this was a little less than this. Now I had both of those colors twice in my Advent calendar. So I'm using the second ball in this color to knit the other front and back. I've knit about half of the rows that I knit on this part. So I think I used the smaller ones of those two colors for this bit so that I could make sure I can knit the same number of rows for the second part. So if this is a bit more than this was, I will still stop at the same time, won't make it longer, and then I will knit this color. And if I can knit a little more and still add on to this bit, I might do that to really get the point where I change color into the middle. But if not, it's okay too. It's such a colorful thing. It doesn't really matter where the midpoint is. Yeah, but really enjoying knitting on that. See that grow. It's a fairly long pullover because of a mix-up with my gauge measuring. I measured the gauge from the sleeve that I did not knit in stockinette, but in this slight rip pattern. I explained all that a few episodes ago. Yeah, but I don't mind. I'll just have a longer pullover and I'll be able to use more of the yarn that I had in the Advent calendar. And And that brings me to the second new cast on. So the first new cast on, of course, was the Sockmadness sock. And the second new cast on I've been planning for quite some time now. And that's my contribution to the current pattern battle that's running in the Opal subscription group. So the Opal Abo. The Abo, the subscription, is where you get 4 parcels a year, and each parcel contains 6 different balls of yarn. And then one of the colorways is chosen for the pattern battle, and everybody taking part has to use the same color. So this time it's this color, and everybody has to knit a different pattern than everybody else. So I signed up with the pattern Vest Friends by Tin Can Knits. Some time ago. The pattern battle started, well, the parcel arrived in December, so that's when the color was chosen. And then the official cast on date was January 1st. So I'm running really, really late, but I finally picked up the yarn and started knitting the vest. And I can only knit the vest because somebody was kind enough to give me their ball in this colorway, and they got a different colorway from me. And the Vest Friends pattern is a vest pattern, and that starts at the top back of the vest, and you knit down for the depth of the armhole. I think there are a few increases coming at some point. And then I pick up stitches for the 2 front bits, and then I knit the rest of the body in one go. And then I just pick up stitches for the armholes and for the rest of the edges. And this is what I have so far. It's not a lot. All I did is cast on stitches for the back of the vest and knit a few rows. And I have to knit quite a few more to get to the point where I put the stitches on hold and start knitting the 2 front pieces. This is was my absolute favorite color in that subscription box, and I'm really happy to be able to knit a garment out of this yarn, and it will go with the snowflake pullover that I once knit and the snowflake skirt that I knit. So it'll be really fun. I don't know if I'm going to wear all 3 pieces at the same time, but for example, the vest and the skirt should be really nice together, and maybe the pullover and the vest, we'll see. I might add some color work into the lower part of the vest and just add a bit of white into it so that it resembles the skirt and the pullover even more. And I do have a plan what to do, but I'm not 100% sure it's going to work out. So yeah, I'll explain more about it when I'm sure that it's what I'm going to do. Yeah, so that's the second new cast on, and that already brings me to the knit along. So no blankets today because, as I said, last week was Sockmadness week, and I hope to at least work on one of the blankets this week. So the knit along we're doing are the comfortable socks with mohair in seed stitch. I'm using a mohair sock yarn by Hansa Farm and the alpaca sock yarn by Hansa Farm. I'm holding the 2 together and I'm knitting the sock in seed stitch. I think last week did I already finish the heel? I don't remember, but I've continued knitting on the foot. You can see the stripes from the sock yarn, but it's all mixed with this nice mohair yellow. And I think I've already reached the toe. I'm not quite sure. I have to try it on again. These socks are for myself, so I can just try them on to figure out when to start the toe. And I'm still really happy with these. I did open the discussion thread in the Ravelry group for Kikos Strickschule. So if you are knitting socks like these, whether it's with the mohair or it's in seed stitch or both, you can just show your socks there if you want. If you have questions, you can ask them there, and I will see them eventually. Yeah, so the video is a bit shorter than usual, but that's the way things happen. I hope you still enjoyed it, seeing everything that I knit last week. Again, no crochet, but as I said, that's how things work out sometime. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!